Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for More Survivalists. In this video, I'll give you my take on Balisong knives, butterfly knives, these knives that open like so, and also a little bit of context as of why is it that you may want to have one of these, and especially given the current situation out there in the streets these days. Now, a knife is a practical tool, but it's also something that can be used as a weapon. Something I was posting in my Instagram, it's Verfile308 by the way, is that you are the weapon. These are all just tools. I mean that a gun will not make you a fighter, neither will a knife. These are all things that you have to practice, you have to train, you have to acquire certain skills, and skills plus determination so as to use those tools will give you the outcome that you're probably expecting if you ever have to defend yourself. But essentially, you are the weapon. Even if you end up empty-handed, if you have your hands, if you have some knowledge, if you prepare for such events, you will be in a much better position. So there are people that have firearms and think, yes, I'm automatically a badass because I have a gun. I've met people that were excellent shooters that they could not fight with a gun. The knife is a little bit different, and this is something that I explain in Street Survival Skills, my latest book. I go into quite a bit of detail on the use of knives as weapons, and skills so as to develop, and knowledge so as to use these things a little bit more effectively. This will give you a great edge, pun intended and all. But even if you don't have a lot of knowledge of how to use a knife for self-defense, the thing about knives is there's certain characteristics about them that make them formidable weapons when used with intent. Even if you don't have a lot of knowledge, someone that just goes after you and just slashes and stabs. This is why you see many of these crimes of passion where the victim is stabbed like 30 times or 40 times. It is kind of difficult to get over a knife because of some things that has going on in terms of how that tool performs when being used as a weapon. It's never going to be jamming. It's never going to be running out of ammunition. Anything that comes into contact with it hurts. A gun, you can grab it. A knife, forget about it. You grab it, you're going to be losing your fingers. Then something else is that not all knives are made equal. It's something that not everyone knows unless you actually do this more seriously, professionally, and you actually go into a little bit more detail. Many of these times in which knives are used in crimes, not always, it's quite rarely that you see like a high-end tactical knife being used. Usually it's like these cheap kitchen knives are used, heat of the moment thing, and many times those knives break. Why? Because they're not intended to be used like that. They're intended to be used for a steak or for eating dinner. And they're kind of thin, handles are not all that strong, and many of these incidents, you see the pictures of the crime scenes, the report, the knife broke the tip, the knife broke in the handle. Even larger kitchen knives, many times they just snap when they're not of all that great quality. That's less likely to happen with a tactical folding knife where you have a stronger blade, you have a stronger lock, good handle. It's not going to be breaking the handle like it happens sometimes with some of these more cheaper knives. Imagine the amount of weight involved. Someone is fighting for his life, someone is trying to kill that person, the torque, the tension, it just puts a lot of stress on these knives that are not intended to take it. But yes, most definitely a gun, if you're looking for a weapon for self-defense, the best tool for that, for the self-defense, the best tool is going to be a handgun. It's also the case, and keep in mind the context in which we are now. By the way, guys, I'm going to be doing a live stream this Saturday with Cliff from Urban Prepper. Great guy, Cliff, and we were talking about a few things. One of those things, without going into revealing much, but we talked about how crucial it is a firearm. A gun is essential for a prepper because it's one of those things that when you need it, it's very difficult to get. Sometimes people think, especially in the United States, a lot of people think, oh, guns are super easy to get here. Especially liberals have this idea that you just go to Walmart and you fill your cart with AR-15s, machine guns, and rocket launchers. pouches. No. In most of the United States, it's quite more difficult than a lot of people assume to get a firearm. And for preppers, it is one of the first things you should be getting, because it's one of those harder things to get when it matters the most. Now, for those that don't have that option, knives are definitely a way to go as well. Knives are practical tools. And now specifically, almost after 5 minutes, about balisongs. Balisongs were intended to be balisongs, butterfly knives. These were the tactical knife of the old school tactical knife. Basically, the knife that you could bring out so as to quickly have access to when you need it. And you just flip the handle, one of these at least, and you just open the knife, and you have different tricks and things. But this would be the tactical knife of its time, and I'm talking like hundreds of years ago. It's a very old weapon. I had one of these. This one belongs to my son. We went to a store. I asked, you get whatever you like, and he said, I want this one. And I said, okay, you have 100 better knives, but he was set on this one because he saw it in a video game, I think, back in the day. Anyway, I had one of these Balisong knives myself, and for a long time I actually carried one in my pocket. I actually fooled around like this a lot and actually stabbed myself, as you probably see right there in the spot. Still have the scar. So yes, it is fast. It is not ideal. The thing is, this is much better than your typical pocket knife that would require you to use both hands. You know, this is still a pretty serious weapon if it's intended to be used like one, because you have a very sharp blade, very narrow tip. It's quite sturdy as well, very strong construction, but it's lacking a couple of things. You don't have a clip. You don't have a single hand opening. Now with the Balisong, yes, you have that single handing opening thing, which is great, but you don't have a clip. It kind of it's loose there in your pocket, and that kind of sucks. But yes, being open single-handed is quite nice. Now, better would be your typical tactical folder. Which one would that be? Like a cold steel like this one. You have your clip, you have your stud there so as to open it. And this is a better knife in my opinion. It's a strong blade. You have a nice lock. This is a Triad lock by Demco, and this is a better design. You also have something like a flipper, which will be a little bit faster. This is a zero tolerance 0561. Beautiful knife, maybe one of the best looking knives out there. And this just flips open like I did. It's pretty quick, and it's pretty solid in the way in which it locks with a frame lock. You also have the assisted open knives, which is very similar to this one, but this one requires some of your, a little bit of flip or strength in your finger there, so as to open it, because it's not opening automatically. Well, neither is this one. This would be an assisted opening. It requires a bit of tension from your finger first, and then a piece of wire kind of puts tension there, and it finishes the mechanism by which it opens. Yes, it's pretty nice for a defensive use folder, but also for a practical tool as well. Imagine cold climates, or you're wet, you're soaked, you're freezing, you've lost control of some of your fine motor skills in your fingers, and you need a blade for an emergency to cut something that your life depends on. With a little bit of pressure that you put it there, man, this thing opens. This is going to be requiring quite a bit more skill. This, you will have to do that, and it's, again, I got stabbed with this thing. There's a little bit of skill involved, even if it becomes kind of reflex eventually, but you kind of have to figure that out. I go back to this thing. Back in the day when this was the only thing, sure. Finally, here I have the one that I use mostly. This is zero tolerance 0630, and the nice thing here is that you have the wave feature. This catches, I mean, you can open it like with one hand, of course, but this catches in the pocket of your pants, and it deploys automatically. That is a design by Emerson, and is here in your ZT. There's also a Kershaw that has something similar going on, also by Emerson, and At first I thought it was kind of gimmicky. Later when I tried it out, I realized it works kind of pretty awesome. It works very well. In fact, it works so well. One of the problems with this sort of knife is that if you want to bring it out of your pocket without opening, you kind of have to jiggle in there, because if not, it will just catch on the fabric of your pants and open it like so. Try not to get cut, but just puts a lot of pressure in there and it opens the knife almost automatically. With just a little bit of practice, the blade just pops quite aggressively as you pull it out of the pants, of the pocket, and it just flips into that open position almost instantly, just without even thinking. And it's a little bit intimidating when you bring it out of the pocket and someone is not expecting that, but it basically does what it's supposed to do. Just you end up with an opened knife in your hand when you need it. So guys, that's my take on all of this stuff in terms of how this comes into context of what we have right now. We are in a period of time at the moment in pretty much everywhere where violence is a little bit more in the streets than it used to be just a few weeks ago even, and you kind of have to figure out what kind of blade works best for you. The Balisong knife, it's nice, but I think you have better options out there. At least, guys, that's my take. Folks, remember that if you want to learn a little bit more about all of this stuff, and including some of the skills as to use these things a little bit more proficiently, street survival skills, and also giving the context in which we are in and the economy, the way it's looking, Surviving the Economic Collapse, my first book, also available in Amazon, following the links below. Guys, take care. See you on the next video.